Pretty close to starting time here, so we'll get rocking and rolling, and I just want to give you a brief rundown on what we're going to do this evening. And that's what we present to you, and we're going to ask you to present to us. My name is Dick Casco. I'm with the engineering firm WGI, and we are the program managers for the entire 4-year roadway bond program. And tonight, of course, is the year 4. I can't believe we're in year 4 already. District 3 North, District 3 project is divided into this year neighborhood meeting. With me are the district engineers tonight from Kinley Warren, Marwan, and Eric. They're going to, as soon as I stop talking here, they're going to give you a brief description of what the project involves, the segments that are involved, and what right now is planned for the segments. Plans are about 50 to 60% done at this point, which is where we like them to be when we come and present them to you. It gives us enough information to give you a good idea of what you're looking for, or what you're looking at in terms of improvements, and it gives us the opportunity before we get too far into the plans to take feedback and input from you as to any specific problems or issues that you would like to see addressed with the project itself.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see ya.
So what we're going to do is we're going to have Marwan and Eric are going to take you through the project. Then we're going to have a question and answer period. And then we're going to ask you, we're going to play a little game. They have some colored dots for you. We're going to pass them out. And we're going to ask you to come up, and of these 6 items that are on the board here, we're going to ask you to put a dot on your highest priority in terms of what you see as an issue that you would like to see solved in your neighborhood, whether it's signage or pedestrian crosswalks and sidewalks, shared lanes or bicycle lanes, bump outs and intersections or speed reducers if you feel you have speeding issues on your street. We've done traffic studies, so we kind of have a handle on what's going on out there. But the study is not the same as you guys that are living on that street every day and watching cars on the street every day. So we'd like to get that feedback from you. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Marwan, Eric, and have them take you through the project.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Good evening. Again, my name is Marwan Kinley Warren, the consulting engineer doing the design for the city. If you've been to years 1, 2, 3, so you already know the drill. But essentially, we're going to go and go over the graphic here that shows these projects that are being handled and designed under year 4. For this meeting, this is the line that divides the district, so we're addressing these projects north of this line up to the north limits of the district, and the red shows those 3 and the limits of them, where it starts and where it ends is the beginning and end of the red, and we're showing black on each side or on one side of the red line, which indicates sidewalk segments that are being added where they're missing. So you can look at the block and know where it's being added, where the sidewalk is being added. So we'll go through that and show you that. And I know it's hard to see from a distance, but you know, when we open it up for Q&A and then when you come up, we can entertain any questions that you have. And as Dick said, we have streetscape items on the blue bar here with some features that you can tell us which ones you like from these or that you feel are needed. And then down here are traffic calming features that you can come up. The legend here, the green dot goes for the streetscape features. The orange goes for the traffic calming feature. Yeah, we can pass them out. So Eric is doing the actual design of the projects. We have the plans with us. So if you have detailed questions, we can pull the plans and look at that. If you know of particular issues, you know, such as maybe ponding or whatever, we want to hear from you. We went out to the field. We try to go out, you know, after it rains, right to observe where there is ponding. So we have our field notes, with the aerial background where we saw some ponding and circled that so we can take care of it. But we'd like to hear from you as well. So Eric, you want to talk more about the design?
Sure. So thank you, Marwan. Again, my name is Eric Regato with Kimley Horn Associates. Our focus tonight is on this northern portion of the District 3 map. The project limits that we're working on are 18th Avenue North from North K Street to North J Terrace, Carolina Court from Maryland Drive to Dead End, Cornell Drive from North Dixie Highway Alley to Pennsylvania Avenue, from Dartmouth Drive from Pennsylvania Avenue to North Federal Highway, Duke Court from Maryland Drive to the end, North J Terrace from 18th Avenue to Wesley Drive, North End Street, bear with me, there's a lot of little streets, North End Street from 17th Avenue North to 18th Avenue North, North O Street from 16th Avenue North to Wesley Drive, North Palm Way from 18th Avenue North to Wesley Drive, Pennsylvania Avenue from Wesley Drive to Dartmouth Drive, and Wesley Drive from North End Street to North Lakeside Drive. I just wanted to note that those are the streets that we're working on. We also have a graphic here that represents that. Again, we can jump into the details if you have any questions. But for those streets, what we're planning on doing, there's three methods of work that we're looking at. One is a simple mill and overlay process where we've analyzed the pavement is in decent condition, but it basically ended its life, so we're going to be milling and resurfacing some of those areas. Some streets are going to be doing a mill where they rework the base to basically extend the life of the pavement, and in some areas are going to be doing the full reconstruction where the pavement is just no longer good. That's throughout the different roadways that we're doing. Along with these grading improvements that we're doing, we're also doing ADA improvements. As Marlon mentioned, we're closing some of the gaps in some of the sidewalk areas in the neighborhoods, and we're also looking for, constructing curb ramps along the intersections, and anything that we noticed in the field where there's little bumps in the asphalt, in the concrete where it doesn't meet ADA conditions, we're going to be adjusting those concrete panel areas. We don't anticipate any utility work with this program. It's really just mostly pavement work with some concrete work for ADA. And like Marlon mentioned, some of the drainage improvements based on some of the ponding we've noticed out in the field and some of the feedback we've received. In addition to us also discussing some of the items we have for us, we also have these comment cards up here. Feel free to fill these out if you have specific concerns. These will become record. Just go ahead and fill that out, add this to the box. We'll take those and we'll add those to our list of items so we consider as we go through the project. Anything else you want to add, Marlon?
The typical sections for the roadways are essentially remaining the same as far as the lanes that are out there. We're keeping pretty much the same pattern of traffic. We're not changing that. So just want to let you know about that. We have the typical sections that show that for different streets. And again, I know it's hard to see here, but if you wanted to look at it, you can come up here and you can look at it. As far as which streets are being reconstructed, did you
For the
identify?
Yes, I do. For reconstruction, we have noted Dartmouth Drive, North Palm Way as full reconstruction. For mill rework base sections, we have North O Street, Pennsylvania Avenue, and Wesley Drive. And for the mill and resurface areas, 18th Avenue North, Carolina Court, Cornell Drive, Duke Court, North J Terrace, and North End Street.
Maybe we can open it up for questions and answers at this point. Questions, please.
Okay. I was notified because I'm at the intersection of North End Street and 17th Avenue. Okay, but I'm across the street on 1600 block. So what I'm wondering is when you do that, what do you do at the intersection? Do you repave that whole intersection or put in curbing? I know that there's a drain in front of
intersection and maybe 20 feet back in those directions.
So you do the complete intersection.
Generally speaking, yeah, unless we're tying into something that's already been done in the previous project.
What's going to happen on 18th N Street, North Ocean Breeze from 18th to Wellesley? What's going to happen there, that segment?
Middle?
18th Street is a mill and resurface.
And that's O Street from 18th to Wellesley.
I think right now what's programmed for that is curbing and resurfacing and filling in the gaps and replacing any broken sidewalk on the...
Now, what about areas that don't have sidewalks?
We don't have sidewalks.
Well, what we try to do in the program is we try to maintain continuous pedestrian circulation on one side of the street at least. Now, many of the streets in Lake Worth, excuse me, I worked for Delray for 20 years, have sidewalks on both sides of the streets, but a lot of it is old and a lot of the concrete is in poor condition, so we'll go ahead and replace all those. So in those areas, we end up with sidewalks on both sides of the streets. In other areas, usually getting over towards the intercoastal, where a lot of you folks are, on the east side, on the east of Federal there, we'll have areas like, I think that segment of O Street is one of them, where you don't have any sidewalks except for maybe one lot on the west side. And on the east side, it's kind of spotty. So what we'll do is we'll look at two things. We'll look at the side of the street that has the most existing sidewalk on it. And we'll also look at the side of the street that building a sidewalk will have the least impact on whatever the resident has there. So if we're looking at which side of the street, if we're only going to do it on one side that we're going to put a sidewalk on, some determining factors will be there's more sidewalk over here than there is over there, and there's like big ficus hedges right up against the pavement over here that we don't want to tear out. So those are the kinds of things that factor into those decisions.
And we can show you when you come up here on O Street, we're showing, like I said, these black lines next to the red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 segments of sidewalk, 5 segments that are being added. Where sidewalk is missing
West or east?
on the west side.
On the west side.
On the west side.
A couple questions about Wellesley. So the top of Wellesley, was that a reconstruction or millwork? And how does that compare to what's going to be done on the rest of Wellesley? Because I perceive Wellesley to be
Wellesley's
a street
mill
that
and
needs reconstruction. So can you talk a little bit more about what's going to be done compared to what was done up top of Wellesley?
Wellesley, at this point, we're looking at a milling resurfacing, I think, on the
Right.
asphalt. I think our corings, our pavement coring showed a pretty decent depth of base. And asphalt is it's old and it's got deteriorated over time. So the cost-effective way to do that, again, as long as there's no obvious base failure, so the road kind of generally looks like it's supposed to look with the ground. It's just the surface pavement is deteriorated, and generally speaking, we'll go in there and mill and resurface.
So you just like grind down the surface. So what was done at the top of Wellesley? Was that a reconstruction? The part that's closer to the intercoastal?
Over by Lakeside?
Yeah. No, on Wellesley, like all the way towards the intercoastal.
Okay,
Just
where
finished.
it goes east of Lakeside?
Yeah.
That was...
They did rework some of the base
Yeah.
there.
We had a water main going down on one side of the street.
Right.
So when you do that, in order to put the water main in, you're going to lose some of the asphalt base on the roadway. So that obviously is replaced and the base is reestablished and recompacted, et cetera. The rest of the road is in, again, fairly good condition. It's just surface deterioration. And I think that's what happened in that section of Wellesley. It gets milled and resurfaced.
And what about, because Wellesley's kind of weird where like there's, even on one side, there's like sidewalk and no sidewalk. So what are you anticipating to do with the sidewalk situation on both sides there?
How was it?
You're not touching it at all?
We're not showing any additional sidewalk.
Not
Or
this point.
curb or something, so you're not doing any of that kind of?
Yeah, no,
new
curb.
I think we're doing curb replacement.
And north side sidewalk.
A lot of times what happens is, the engineers go out and they'll get the surveyors to go out and get the survey information. The engineers will take the survey information, they will go out and do visual inspections, and they're looking at the condition of the road, trying to match up what the pavement cores and the geotechnical work has told them. And they're looking at the sidewalk and the driveway aprons and things like that. And they're trying to make determinations of what they're going to put on the plans in terms of what gets replaced and what doesn't. A lot of times what happens is when we go into construction, our project manager, who's here tonight, will go down and he will make some spot decisions as to if there's a questionable area, if there's a sidewalk, that there's a question of whether or not it's borderline, it's just, is it aesthetic or is it an issue with ADA, is it trimming hazard or whatever. They'll make those decisions in concert with the contractor, and a lot of times what happens is a lot more sidewalk ends up getting replaced than in the plans. But those are decisions that are made when we actually get in the field.
And it's going to go all the way down to federal, right? This is something about the north end.
We are planning to take it down to federal, yeah. I think the bond segment stops at N Street.
Right.
N Street.
Yes.
But it doesn't make sense to stop there.
Okay, one more question. Are you considering speed bumps on Wellesley, or is that not something?
There are speed bumps there, right?
No.
There are speed bumps there.
No.
No.
East of Federal.
Okay, so when we get to that point,
West of Federal.
when we get to that point, that where we're up here,
In the street.
and you think that's a priority, and you think that you feel that there is excessive speeds on Wellesley, let us know up here. And we'll certainly take a look at it and see what we can do now.
Good question. On Cornell, when they resurface, are they going to do the curves? Because there's hardly any curve there now.
Right.
That's the question. 31 acres right here.
Yeah.
There's no curve.
There's no curve.
It's all sunken down.
I mean, there is a curve there, which you ride by, you don't even know you've driven over.
Right. So I don't know if that's part of the plan or if it's optional or.
Is that a...
That's a header curve.
So there's a swale section there?
Well, so swell, we got sidewalk and,
Green space.
So you have a green space.
Yeah, right. But there's no curve on Cornell
We
West,
can
300 block.
look at putting, it depends on what kind of curve we can put in there.
We're showing D curve.
East
You're
of,
showing D curve.
east of Federal, they've got curves.
Yeah.
Or east of Pennsylvania, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But west of
Here's what we have to be careful about. When curbs are great, we love curbs, we like to put them in whenever we can because it gives the drainage a constant, flow channel. Okay, so you don't get the water quality from swales and curbs, obviously, but the water goes away pretty quick. The problem with the type of curb that goes in is in many areas, we're finding that we're using a type F curb, which is, it's 2 feet wide and the back 6 or 8 inches sticks up about 6 inches. Okay, it's a typical thing you see on a DOT highway, on Federal, Dixie, or one of those highways. What we're replacing that's existing is, it may be a curb, it may be a raised curb, but it's only got maybe a 3 or 4 inch reveal. In other words, it's that much of the concrete curb that's above the edge of pavement. And when we replace that with the type F curve, that goes up. So now we've got another 2 or 3 inches of height on the back of that curve. That can be a critical factor depending on what's happening behind that curve. Because we're constantly trying to work a compromise between making sure that the curbs flow laterally along the roadway sufficiently to get drainage out. And at the same time, in order to accomplish that, we're not raising the road or the curb itself doesn't get too high that we start blocking the drainage coming off the lot. Because that's one of the main reasons the drainage is there, because it's to drain the drainage area from the properties on both sides of the road. So if we have an area, for example, where you have a header curve, which is flush with the pavement, and a lot of the roads up in College Park, I think, have that. If we replace that with a type F curve, okay, now we have an issue from the top of that curve back to the sidewalk. So we have to be careful about that in terms of what kind of curve we put in there.
Okay.
It doesn't sound good.
But there will be a little bit of a gap. I mean, it won't be 6 inches,
I mean,
it'll be.
what you're talking about, this header curve is basically what's there right now. There's almost no difference in the elevation between the street and the curve.
Right, yes, that's a header curve. Right.
That's
So
like-
right now, you're
like
talking
buying
about a D curve?
We're showing D curve, yeah, right now.
Okay, so a D curve,
Cornell, yes.
Yeah, for Cornell.
a D curve is basically the back 8 inches of an F curve, so it's still going to stick up
Good,
like 6 inches above that edge of pavement.
Okay.
good. That's fine, that's fine. Now, what about the sidewalks? Our sidewalk in particular is horribly broken up.
Well, I mean, if they're in bad condition, we'll replace them.
We're not showing new sidewalk.
No, the sidewalk.
Did you clean them too?
South side.
South side.
Can you clean them?
South side is.
I don't want to clean them.
Replace the sidewalk that's in bad shape on the south side.
Yeah, it's selected.
You know what?
There's an ADA issue.
So basically, if it's in, a poor condition where staff and the contractor engineers can look at it and say, okay, this needs to be replaced.
Did you say the south side is?
South side is being replaced?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good, that's ours.
Perfect.
I mean,
The other side is selective.
Homeowners insurance.
Yeah, so one side is getting replacement the entire length,
Yeah, that's
and
the,
the other side is apparently there's existing sidewalk over there, so it's selected. In other words, what's damaged needs to be replaced will get replaced. But we're trying to be cost effective about the improvements, so we're not going to tear up a stretch of concrete sidewalk that there's nothing.
But ours on the south side, our homeowners insurance canceled my sinkhole coverage because of the condition of the sidewalk.
really?
I live on that stretch of Dartmouth, full reconstruction, and, oh, by the way, good, thanks. What does that mean? First off, when's it gonna start? How long does it take? I'm gonna be parking somewhere else for what length of time? I can't get to my driveway?
6 months, forget it. No, I'm kidding. Stepping back a couple of paces here, the way the program is structured, and again, this is the final year of the program, and we're in design right now, so we will have these plans complete sometime around October, November, okay? At that point in time, we will either issue a contract to one of the city's, what we call push-button contractors. There's a series of contracts that were competitively awarded when the program started and have been renewed with kind of a menu of items on it that pertain to roadway reconstruction. And if we don't have any underground utilities, or if we have very, very few underground utilities that we can add on to that project, we will use those contracts for fulfilling quantities and the prices that are on those contracts. We will select whichever one of those 5 contractors in the project comes in with the price on that basis. So that process, once we do that, there's a couple of weeks with the paperwork, then we can take that to commission and get it awarded. So that's a fairly short-term contract deal. There are a couple of projects, none right now that I can see in District 3 or Year 4. If there is any significant amount of underground water main upgrades, training, things like that, like we have actually in District 1 and 4, then we have to go through a competitive bidding process. So that's a good 2 to 3 years from the time we advertise it to the time we're actually in a position to do the commission. But the generic objective is to try and get construction for the particular year, in this case year 4.
Which is next year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is 2020, okay? We want to try and get construction, we'll have contracts, the goal is to have contracts in place and have contractors ready to roll January or February.
Depending on how much work they have to do underneath. Okay.
And depending how long it takes us to work.
Sure.
Are they going to start from north, south, or does it matter? I mean,
Well, this district, we broke the improvements up into 2 contracts here. Because I think it looks like they're going to be push-button contracts, so it'll be a short contract award period. And it's just simply arithmetic. If we get 2 contractors working in there, we'll get the job.
Okay, so I won't quote you, assuming they started in January, just for the sake of argument.
What's the order? How do we know when?
6 to 8 months.
16 months. All right. Then I literally can't get to my driveway. Not that I'm complaining about this.
That's the whole project.
That would be the term of the entire project. They don't go in and tear up every segment all the time.
Well, it's really just one lot, not a garden.
Yeah, but there's all these other segments. In other words, we're gonna give this whole thing one lot.
Right, but I guess the question is once they start on a particular block.
They're not gonna do half the block and then half the block. They're gonna tear up the whole block, right?
No, and I'm actually glad you brought that up. What you have to make sure that you understand is that the construction is not segment driven, it's process driven. Okay. So, because otherwise, the contractor's not gonna go in and stay on the segment and stop. He's gonna go in, he's gonna send his crews in, and they're gonna start tearing up the concrete. They'll move on to the next section and tear up the concrete. They'll move on to the next segment and tear up the concrete. Okay, and right behind that, he's gonna have his concrete cell come in and start pouring concrete.
And they're all gonna do it
They
the same,
focus
yeah.
on the curbs.
Sure.
So they get the curbs in first, and they go from segment to segment to segment, get the curbs in. And then they'll come in, building and resurfacing, they'll come in the middle of the street, they'll go down the middle of the street on the next segment, go down the middle of the street on the next segment. And we get all that done, if they have any remedial base work to do, they'll do that at the same time, okay? Then they'll bring the paving contractor in, and actually do the paving. They generally do that in two lifts, and they use the curb that's been replaced as a base. We're doing that work with the machine. So that curbing is critical. It goes in first and then it goes in the right height. So yes, you'll be able to access your property. I don't anticipate any foreclosures here, just based on the scope that we have. Contractors are required, they may have access restrictions during the workday, which is Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. They're not allowed to work beyond that without specific authorization from the city because of the noise ordinance. And by the end of every workday, they are required by contract to restore access to everybody's property.
Wait a minute, it's a full reconstruction of the road. Don't they have to tear up the road? I mean, isn't it gonna be gone for a period of time?
No, not to the point where there's no access.
Really?
You may have to drive on shell rock.
Okay.
But not to the point where there's no access.
Oh, okay.
Except the short period when they put the fresh asphalt down.
Okay.
Maybe a day or two where you can't drive on the road, right?
Once they pave, you can drive around.
Really quickly?
Well, do you send out notices when a certain block is going to be under construction? So if people want to move plants or something like that?
Yes, we have formats that we provide all contractors, trilingual, and they're kind of fill in the blanks, check the boxes type of things. But our contractors are getting familiar with what works best now. So what you're going to find out is that they will give out a notice of beginning of construction over a period of time, and it may look like a month or 6 weeks or whatever. Okay, it's just kind of a generic notice to put you on notice that okay, we're going to start this project over this period of time. There's going to be construction. When they actually start to bring their equipment on the project, on the job, and do specific activities, whether it's demolition, pouring curb, whatever it is they're going to do. They're going to give you a notice. We try to get them to do it 48 hours in advance. It's at least 24 hours in advance of when they're going to do that. And they're going to tell you what kind of restrictions that they would like you to adhere to for that period of time. So they may be asking you not to park there for that day, those days, whatever. I don't think anybody's going to be telling you, again, based on the scope that I think we have here, I don't think anybody's going to tell you that you can't drive on your street. Generally speaking, they will have access open, and there may be flagmen that will get you around whatever activity is going on at the time. But yeah, those notices will go out over periods of time before we actually understand. Now, again, just to emphasize this, because a lot of people get upset when contractors come in, he's torn up the curbs, he's got the curbs in, he's torn up the road, and then they don't see him for a month. Okay? Again, that's because the work is is process driven, it's not segment driven, because if he's not working on your block, he may be working on another block on your street, 2 blocks up, or he may be in one of the other segments doing that same work that he's just done on your block. Okay? And he's responsible for maintaining that access. In other words, if you've got a shell rock road to drive on for a period of time, he's responsible for making sure that that thing just doesn't get left and blow dust all over the place and develop potholes or anything else. He's got to maintain that as a suitable access.
Okay, so then assuming January, this is an argumentative, it's going to take I realize he's not going to be working on Dartmouth for 6 months, but it's going to take 6 months. It's going to take 8 months. How long until?
Again, those are ballpark times. It's really tough to tell until we get the plans completed. And we'll assign a time element based on the final plans that we have and how long we think it's going to take. They're usually, the shortest one we've had, I think, is 6 months. The longest one is in almost a year. But that was a huge change. It was like M Street over here, sure, the first year. And there's always a chance if something comes up in the field that we have to issue a change order increasing the scope to fix a particular problem that we didn't know was there until the contractor started construction. And so that generally results in some sort of time addition to the project. But when I say, let me say it's 6 months. Let's arbitrarily, we'll say 6 months. Okay. So 6 months means at the end of 6 months, after the notice to proceed is issued, it has a specific date. That gives him a date when he has to be complete. 30 days before that date, he has to be what we call substantially complete, which means that it's basically done. The only thing he's got left to do is maybe put up some signs, put down some striping, put down some sign, little things like that. So at that point in time, your roads are fine. You probably look at it and say, okay, the project's done. Generally, it's just little details to take care of. So that's, generically speaking, that's how these projects work.
Excuse me, did they reconstruct the swale area as it was before they started the project? Like, say they have to rip it up for some reason, whatever, we have grass, rocks, whatever?
Yeah, anything that's destroyed or disturbed during the construction, if it's not going to get specifically, if it's not an element of the roadway that's specifically getting replaced, if it's like a swale area or if you have irrigation out there, this happens a lot. Yeah, he's going to repair all that.
Oh, he cuts the pipes off and replaces them?
The contractors are good about working with the residents. It depends on how your system is plumbed. He may be able to just cut and cap the pipes temporarily, and the rest of your system works. Or if your system and the valves and everything require that, then he'll go in and restore it so that you have service. In other words, he wants to make sure that your irrigation service too frustrating in your yard. The property doesn't suffer because of this. Now, it may take him a period of time to do the surface restoration, whether it's sod or whatever. But yeah, the irrigation will be restored pretty quickly.
In what manner do they contact us? Is it by mail or email or phone or?
They'll probably knock on your door.
Not on the door. You're not home, they just leave a notice over there?
Yeah. Yeah, because they're going to need your input as to, when they come back to restore something, they're going to need your input as to
But as far as when they start the project, when they start the project, how do they?
They're going to want to know, was this line here? And because when they go through their tears out, they're not going to know where your irrigation system is until they dig up the pipe or something. So they're going to work with you on that.
I make 8 of those people that is my yard all the way.
You're one of those people.
Yes, I am. And I have a lot of money in my yard. Except I'm going to rip it up and leave it in the driveway.
Depends on what the improvements are for your house.
What's the address?
What's the address?
1827.
curbs or sidewalks, whatever, if anything is changed.
I don't have sidewalks.
Okay,
We're adding sidewalks.
we're adding sidewalks?
You have trees.
I have and a driveway.
Yes. Driveway, there's some trees on the survey as well. That all seems to be like percent back outside the road by the trees. Sure, but they had
The hedge goes completely and my driveway goes
Yeah, the driveway.
elevated driveway.
the edge, if it goes up to the edge, it will be in conflict with the other side. The trees.
I will abide by that.
We can,
I will not do the sidewalk.
as long as we can get a continuous pedestrian sidewalk on one side of the street.
Like I said, I don't know if either side of the street's going to be separated, but I have a lot of money in my yard, and with my driveway, that's it was crazy. And I'm not saying it now.
He's smiling. Okay, no, seriously, let's sort of take a look at that and see whatever we can do.
Being on that intersection of 17 and draining on my property, I want to know what I've seen as I walk around the neighborhoods, like Conway and everything that you've done the work on already. There are different styles of drains. Some of them are huge that you really cut into the property. Others, they're not, they're modest. So,
Yeah,
I'd like to know what is proposed.
Yeah, we don't, right now, we don't have any proposals for any structural changes to the drainage system. Okay. So if we were to do that, it depends on what it is that we're dealing with. In other words, if it's a swale section, we'll call it ditch bottom inlet, then we'll just put a ditch bottom inlet on it. It's what you see in a swale, it's got a flat grate on it, water goes in.
Yeah, just the metal.
If it's a curve, if your street has a curve, is that what you're talking about, the F curve?
There's a curve, and then right there, about 2 or 3 feet is one of those metal grates.
Yeah. So, depending on the kind of curve it is, we have to put the type of top on the structure that matches the curve. Whether it's an F curve that has a hood, or whether it's a valley gutter that's shaped like
It
this.
doesn't have a hood, it's just my homemade curves there.
Okay.
Just to mention something for your whatever. When I pass some of these drains walking my dogs, there's this black fiber underneath that looks like they were put in there perhaps to catch debris, and they're still there underneath the grates. There's one along 16th Avenue at the intersection of 16th and Palmway.
Yeah.
And there are those like
Those are
that around.
required to be there by state statute.
Why? They prevent water
It's to
from going
prevent,
down.
it's during the construction.
No, I mean, construction's all over.
Palm Way. But that's one of those final activities that I was referring to, is that the contractor's got to go through and take all that filter fabric out of the grates for the contractors. And it's put there for the reason that to prevent any contaminants from the roadway construction, whether it's shell rock or millings or what have you, from getting into the drainage system because of those contaminants. So that's the sole purpose of it. Now, what happens very often, because there's really no way to avoid it, because we're in the rainy season now, what the contractors will do, sometimes on their own, sometimes at the jurisdiction's request, if we get a heavy rain, is they'll go out and poke holes in that stuff just to get rid of the water, because it's more important not to flood the streets. But that's what that is, and that will be reviewed by the contractor.
Speed bumps, are we putting them in? Has it not been determined? Is that still up in the air?
okay, why don't I stop talking if we're out of questions here and have the folks come up. Kimley Horn has some thoughts and tell us where you think the issues are.
Big range, it's your driveway.
Pull the driveway.
To get your feedback.
Yeah, I guess, because you do the whole winter. No,
Whatever you feel is
Green, you like, and red, you don't.
You guys are all good. I didn't recognize you.
Put it all. Yeah, right.
Drain or whatever.
So I can see
Green, I like it.
Because I already have, like, there's a sidewalk. I'm on
No, both count.
There's a sidewalk there.
Looks like a head ass.
And
Green
it goes
is
down.
streetscape.
Then I make my own.
What generation you're from?
I know, it's a long time ago. Give me a hit.
Kind of flat.